Part 1. Love and the Law. The Duke of Athens was called Theseus. He was very happy because he had fallen in love with Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons. They were going to be married in 4 days' time, and Theseus was impatient for the wedding day to arrive.
"If only these 4 days were over,"
he said to Hippolyta.
"Then our happiness would begin."
"They will soon pass,"
she told him tenderly.
4 days are nothing. Be patient, Theseus.
Theseus wanted the whole of Athens to celebrate his wedding, and he gave very clear instructions to Philostrate, his master of revels.
"Make sure that everyone enjoys himself,"
Theseus ordered.
"Organize some wonderful entertainment for the people of the city. My wedding must be a happy and memorable event for Athens. I want the whole of Athens to take part in this great day and to share my happiness with me."
As Theseus was giving these orders, 4 people approached the Duke. One of them was an old man, Aegeus. He greeted Theseus politely.
"I wish you long happiness, sir."
Theseus smiled at Aegeus.
"Thank you, Aegeus. How are things with you, my friend?"
Aegeus looked serious for a moment, and then he answered the Duke.
"To tell you the truth, things are not going well for me, Theseus,"
he began.
"In fact, I have come to you to help me resolve a problem. It concerns these young people with me."
He pointed to the 3 young people who were standing beside him. There were 2 young men and a girl. The girl looked angry and defiant, and the young men were glaring at each other angrily.
"The problem is this,"
Aegeus told Theseus.
"Demetrius was going to marry my daughter here, Hermia. Everything was arranged between our 2 families. I approved of the marriage, and so did Demetrius's father."
Demetrius nodded his head in agreement with Aegeus.
"That's quite right, sir. Everything was arranged."
"But then Lysander interfered with everything,"
Aegeus complained. He turned to the other young man who was standing beside him.
"Don't argue now, young fellow. You know you interfered,"
he said angrily.
"You brought Hermia presents. You wrote her poetry. You sang songs outside her window. You did everything you could to make her fall in love with you. And now she refuses to obey me. She says she won't marry Demetrius."
Aegeus frowned at Lysander. The young man looked back at him. He did not seem afraid. Then Hermia's father spoke to Theseus again.
"I have come to you, sir,"
he said,
"to ask for justice. Hermia has refused to obey me. If she won't marry Demetrius, she should die. That is the law of Athens, as you know. Hermia belongs to me, and if she won't do what I tell her, she should die."
Theseus thought hard for a moment. He did not approve of children who disobeyed their parents. Then he turned to Hermia.
"What have you got to say?"
he asked. Then he raised a finger in warning.
"Before you reply,"
he said sternly,
"you should remember one thing. Your father made you. He has the right to destroy you if he chooses. Demetrius is undoubtedly a good man, and he would make a good husband for you. You should accept him, if that is what your father wishes."
Hermia blushed. It was difficult to tell if she was embarrassed or very angry. Then she decided to speak. She spoke in a very determined way.
"Lysander is also a good man,"
she told the Duke.
"and Lysander is the man I love. I will never marry against my will."
Theseus was angry at the girl's reply. He asked Hermia to think very carefully about what she would do. He told her that if she refused to obey her father, she would be severely punished. She would either have to die or to spend the rest of her life in a convent.
"Very well, my lord,"
replied Hermia.
"I will die, or I will go to a convent for the rest of my life. But one thing is certain, I will never marry Demetrius.
This reply annoyed Theseus, but he was determined to give Hermia a chance to change her mind.
Don't decide now,
Theseus told her.
I will give you 4 days to make up your mind. But this I promise you. On the day of my own wedding, you will either die or go to a convent, or you will marry Demetrius.
Lysander now began to argue with Aegeus.
Why are you so opposed to my love for Hermia?
He wanted to know.
I am as good a man as Demetrius. I come from a noble family as he does. I am rich as he is. I love your daughter. Why don't you allow us to marry? Besides, Demetrius used to be in love with Helena. He made her fall in love with him. He broke her heart. He should marry Helena, not Hermia.
Demetrius looked angrily at Lysander. It was true that he had been in love with Helena, and that he had treated her very badly. He knew it, and he was ashamed of his past behaviour. But now he was in love with Hermia, and he was determined to marry her.
Enough,
Theseus said to Lysander.
I have given my judgment. Hermia has 4 days to think about the matter.
Aegeus thanked Theseus for his judgment in the case. He was sure that Hermia would choose to marry Demetrius rather than face the penalty of disobedience.
And now, my old friend,
said Theseus to Aegeus,
I want to speak to you and Demetrius privately.
With pleasure, sir,
Aegeus said.
Certainly, sir,
Demetrius said.
Come with me and we'll discuss this matter together,
Theseus commanded. Theseus, Aegeus, and Demetrius went off together, leaving Hermia and Lysander alone. They were very sad at the punishment that faced Hermia, and they thought that Theseus was unjust. They did not know what to do. Then Lysander had an idea. He had an aunt who lived some distance away from Athens. They could go there and marry. The law of Athens could not touch them there.
If you really love me,
He told Hermia,
you'll run away with me. I'll wait for you tomorrow night in the wood near Athens. Then we'll go to my aunt's house. What do you think of the plan?
Hermia promised that she would meet Lysander in the wood. As the lovers were making their plan to escape from Athens, they were joined by Helena. Helena was very unhappy because she loved Demetrius.
Why does Demetrius love you?
She asked Hermia with a sigh.
What have you done to make him fall in love with you when he loved me before?
Hermia smiled at her friend.
I'll tell you what I do,
She said.
I ignore him, but he still loves me. I am rude to him, but he still loves me. The more I hate him, the more he loves me.
Then Hermia told Helena what Theseus had said to her. Helena felt very sorry that her friend was in danger of such a severe punishment.
Lysander and I are going to run away from Athens,
Hermia explained to her friend. Helena thought about the lovers' plan to escape to the wood. Then she made a plan of her own.
I'll tell Demetrius what Lysander and Hermia are going to do,
She decided.
He's sure to follow Hermia into the wood. Perhaps he'll thank me for bringing him the news.
Part 2. Acting for the Duke. Everyone in Athens knew that Theseus was going to be married to Hippolyta. Many people were wondering how they could celebrate the event in a way that would please the Duke. Everyone wanted to honour the Duke by organising a special entertainment for him and his bride. There was a weaver in the city called Bottom. He and his friends had decided that they would perform a play for the Duke. They had never performed in a play before, but they were certain it would be easy to do. They held a meeting to decide what play they should perform and the parts that each of them should play.
Well, friends,
asked Bottom.
what play shall we perform for the Duke?
He was answered by the carpenter, Quince.
We have chosen the play Pyramus and Thisbe.
What is my part in the play?
Asked Bottom excitedly.
Do I play a lover? Or do I play a bad king?
You play the part of a lover.
Quince told him.
It's a wonderful part because you kill yourself for love.
Bottom was very excited at the idea of the part he was to play.
Excellent,
He cried.
I'll be very good at it, I'm sure. I'll make the audience cry at my sufferings. You can be sure of that.
He thought for a moment.
But perhaps I'd be better as a king.
He said thoughtfully.
I could terrify them if I had the part of an evil king.
He ran up and down excitedly, waving his arms about and pulling strange faces. He was trying to look strong and powerful, but he only looked ridiculous. His friends were embarrassed by his silliness.
That was a bad king. Not bad, eh?
He looked at his friends with a smile, expecting that they would compliment him on his efforts. No one said anything. Bottom looked disappointed. He thought his acting was wonderful.
Let's continue then,
he suggested to Quince.
Now tell us who the other actors are.
The next is Flute.
Quince told them. He turned to Flute.
You play the part of Thisbe, the woman that Pyramus loves.
He explained. I don't want to play the part of a woman, Flute complained. Besides, I'm growing a beard. It'll be ridiculous.
Don't worry about that.
Quince reassured him.
If you wear a mask, no one will see your beard.
All right then, said Flute. If I can play the part that way, I don't mind. The idea of wearing a mask appealed to Bottom, and he could not resist interrupting.
I could play that part beautifully. I want to be Thisbe,
He cried.
Let me have the part of Thisbe.
No,
Said Quince.
you will play the part of Pyramus.
Then Quince told the other actors which parts they would play. After telling everybody which part they would play, finally he turned to Snug.
Your part's a good one too.
He informed him.
You will be the lion.
The lion?
Snug said anxiously.
Is it a difficult part to play, Quince? Do I have to remember many long speeches?
No, don't worry.
Quince reassured him.
The lion's part is very simple. You just enter and roar. It's very easy.
Once again Bottom was delighted at the idea of playing the lion. It seemed a much more wonderful part than his own. He interrupted the proceedings once again.
Let me be the lion.
He cried.
Oh, do let me be the lion, Quince. I could do it so well. I would roar so loudly that it would frighten everybody in the audience.
By now, Quince was becoming quite impatient with Bottom.
A fine thing that would be.
He said angrily.
The Duke would be very angry if we frightened all the ladies. We'd all get into a lot of trouble.
You're right.
Bottom admitted eagerly.
But I'd play the part of the lion very gently. No one would be scared at all.
How many times must I tell you?
Quince said angrily.
You're playing the part of Pyramus. It's a lovely part.
He paused for a moment.
There is one other thing we need to do. We must practice our play in a quiet place away from the city. Let's go into the wood tomorrow night. We can practice there without being disturbed by anybody.